Hello and welcome to my little bookish corner of the internet. My name's Harriet. Today I thought I'd show you the physical books on my TBR. So it's going to be kind of like a bookshelf tour, but also please don't expect much because I still live at home, so I don't have really my own space to keep my books. So it's a little bit of a mess, but I know some of you have been waiting a really long time for me to share how my bookshelves look. So yeah, I thought this would be a nice way to do it, and I can talk through all of those books and show you all the books that I have physically. There are quite a few. It's a little bit embarrassing, but yeah, let's just get into this. Okay, so we start off with this little shelf here. As I say, it is honestly a little bit messy. I'm very sorry. But basically, it's kind of in an order, but also not really. As I say, I don't have a lot of space because I still live at home, so I don't have my own like bookshelves and things. These are just from when we were kids, and I have 2 of them in my room, and it's still not enough. But yeah, I'm going to talk through them now and show you which ones I've read, which ones I haven't. So starting off, this is just like a little jar with loads of like seashells and things that me and my partner have collected over the years. So that is on the top there. And I guess I'll show you the stuff in front and then I'll show you the stuff behind. So starting here, we've got the Nature Encyclopedia. This is just one of those books that I was like, oh, it would be nice to have on my shelves. But have I picked it up? No. But it was from a book swap, so it was free. And then we have James Cameron's Titanic. This is all information about the film that came out. I love the film. My middle name is Rose because my mum was pregnant with me when her and my dad went to go and see it at the cinema. I think my dad saw it 3 times. He loved it so much. So yeah, I picked that up at a book swap as well, and I'm really excited to actually get to that. I want to get to it this year. And then we've got Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. I read this last year and really enjoyed it. I think I have got a review of it up. Yeah, I have got a review of it up, so you can check that out. But this is an illustrated edition and a hardback. I believe it is for sale on Amazon still. So if you want to check that out, then definitely do that because it is a beautiful book and I never read it before last year. But it was very interesting and very different to the Disney film as well. And then we have a new purchase for me. This was from the charity shop and it is a hardback edition of Life on Earth by David Attenborough. I showed this off in a recent video, which was my book haul, because it's got loads of like illustrations and stuff in there and loads of actual photographs, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful book. And then we have Caraval. I've heard lots of things about this book, but I have not read it yet, so that is definitely one to read. Maybe at the end of this video, I'll put like an amount of how many books that I have on my TBR that I need to read still. It's probably going to be quite embarrassing. Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I've only read Normal People so far, but I'm excited to get to this. And that also takes me to the other Sally Rooney, which is up here. Beautiful World, Where Are You? This is only up here because it doesn't fit down here yet. And unfortunately, my Normal People is actually somewhere else. I'm very sorry, I know that's going to upset people, but I just haven't had the time to sit and organise my shelves. It's just a mess. But anyway, Other Minds. So this is a non-fiction talking about evolution in octopus and things like that and how that relates to us, and I think that's going to be very interesting. I have yet to read that. The Karamazov Brothers, a massive book that I'm very intimidated by, so I haven't got to it yet. I mean, look at it. It's just going to take such a long time to read. But this was recommended by my partner's friend, so I'm going to trust his opinion in that this will be very good. Jane Eyre. I've already read this. It's just an edition that I got that is different to the one that I read. So I have actually read that, and I have read Mansfield Park as well, so that is not on my physical TBR, which is very good. And then we've got a hardback edition of England, My England. This is a treasury of all things English, so it's like English poems, English short stories, English essays, and I found that in a secondhand bookshop and just thought it was really cute. And then the Peterborough book. Obviously, I live in Peterborough, so it's nice to have like a little snippet of history. I haven't yet read this though. I haven't read either of these because they are non-fiction. I feel like it might be like a little bit dry, but we'll see. If not, it's nice to own them anyway. Obviously, I spoke about Sally Rooney. I'm going to start to move these out of the way and then I can show you what's behind. Okay, so under that Sally Rooney, I've got the Ali Smith books. I have read Autumn. I'm due to read Winter before the season ends, and then Summer and Spring, so I have got 3 of these to read. I've got a hardback edition of Pride and Prejudice and Wuthering Heights, which I have read both of, and then I do actually have another edition of Pride and Prejudice, which is this one. I have all of these Austens. My other one is currently being read, which is Sense and Sensibility. So I have read all of these. I haven't read Northanger Abbey yet, and I haven't read The Lady Susan. And then I have another edition of Persuasion, which was the first one that my partner got for me, and then I got this one after because I absolutely loved it. And then I've got this, which is a collection of letters. It's just called Love Letters. This was on sale in Waterstones, and I just thought it was very cute. It's just one of those books that I was like, yeah, I'll pick it up. So that is the top shelf. As I say, I'm not very good at organising my books. I do apologise, I'm just very lazy. But now we can get onto the second shelf. Okay, so I've moved the first layer out of the way for now. This is just my collection of Twilight books. I've got all of the white covers of the original kind of saga, and then Midnight Sun, the hardback. I thought this was a bit of a disappointment, but I love the original series. And then I have got Discovery of Witches, which I have not read yet. This is, again, one of those books that's quite thick. I got it at a charity shop, but I have heard good things and heard that it was kind of similar in vibes to Twilight, so that's why it's in this section. And then we can talk about the books that were in front. Okay, so thankfully I've actually read a couple of these. So I have read Magician. I thought it was really good, very interesting. There were some parts where I was a little bit bored, but overall very good. And then I have got my paperback edition of The Yellow Oak by Victor Val. This is a story that has been self-published, so I will definitely leave that link down below, as well as another one which I'll tell you about in a second. But this is kind of like a psychological thriller, which is something I don't usually read, but I did very much enjoy it. And they've got Red Rising, which I haven't read yet. I feel like I'm going to really enjoy it though. The Night Circus, which is one of those ones that I picked up similar to Caraval, where I've heard really good things about it, but I just haven't read it yet. And then If Cats Disappeared from the World, which has got the cutest little cover. Still haven't read this one. I think I'm going to put it in my February TBR possibly. The Name of the Wind, which I'm supposed to be reading this month, but we will see if that happens because it's very big. The Look of a King by Tom Dumbrell, which, similar to The Yellow Oak, has kind of been self-published. This is awesome. Please buy it. It's so cheap, so affordable, but one of the greatest books that I read last year. I had such an amazing time with it, and the second book is fabulous as well, so definitely check that out if you're into like medieval fantasy. I've got two large prints by Yaa Gyasi. I found both of these, well, this one was in Poundland and this one was in the charity shop, but I don't like this front cover compared to the one that everyone else bought, like the green and pink one. I do love this front cover. It's stunning. So I haven't read either of those yet, but I am due to very soon. And then we can move on to the next shelf. And before I move them all off, I will take off this because this is just a notebook, so ignore that. Okay, so behind all of those, I don't know if you got a vibe when you saw which ones were in front, but this is the Harry Potter shelf. Now I do have the original versions of these, but they're not technically mine, they're my brother's. So I bought these a couple years ago, and I do actually really like the editions. I think the front covers are really nice. One of my favourites would have to be For the Goblet of Fire. I just think it's stunning. The blue and then the red and the orange is just really lovely. I am planning to reread these this year, but obviously I have read them many times before. So yeah, they are in prime position on my shelf because I adore them. And then I will show you the front of the shelf. So obviously I was sticking to a theme when I organised this one, so I did actually think about where books were going. I have got my Slytherin edition of the Philosopher's Stone in hardback. I did have The Chamber of Secrets and Prisoner of Azkaban in paperback, but I just thought this was the one that I wanted to keep. And it is really beautiful with the little sprayed edges and everything. So yeah, I am a Slytherin, if you didn't know. So that's why I have that one there. And then I obviously have the hardback edition of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which I did enjoy, but it did piss me off a little bit as well, but we won't get into that. The Ichabod, which I haven't read yet. The Christmas Pig, which I have read and absolutely loved. One of my favourite reads of 2021. And then the two screenplays for Fantastic Beasts. So we've got Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and then The Crimes of Grindelwald, which I hated that film. I thought it was shit, but I still wanted the book because it looks really nice. And then I've got the mini hardback of The Tales of Beedle the Bard. I got this at charity shop. So it's a little bit battered and bruised, but I really liked this. I thought it was very creative. And then for some reason I have got my little Treasure Cove story, Alice in Wonderland. It's just like a picture book. I think I got it for Christmas like a couple of years ago because Alice in Wonderland is one of my favourite children's films. So yeah, I've got that. And then the A Pinch of Magic trilogy, which I have clearly only read the one of. You can tell from the spine. I'm supposed to be reading these two this year, and I think I will be able to get to them, so they are still to be read. And then we get onto this shelf, which is very random, and I do apologise, but let's move all these front ones out the way. Okay, so it's very random back here. I apologise. We've got the H.P. Lovecraft collection. I can't actually get this out at the moment because this is kind of tightly packed, but it is stunning. It's got silver sprayed edges, I believe. It's very beautiful. And then we've got the Brothers Grimm Selected Tales. That is a hardback, but also like a spongy cover. I got that as my first ever Christmas present, I think, from my boyfriend, which is very cool. He knows me very well. It was either Christmas or birthday, and I love it. Oh, that would have been for Christmas. Yeah, it would have been our first Christmas together, and we'd only been together for like a couple weeks. I remember because I bought the Hans Christian Andersen tales, the one next to it, when I went to America, and that was a couple months after we got together. So yeah, good going, Callum. You did a very good job. And then I've got Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, which is a penguin cloth bound. I love those. They are beautiful. Let's see if I can get it out. Oh gosh, I've got books everywhere. Yeah, this is just stunning. I love it. And then I have got these 3 books. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo trilogy. Is it called The Millennium? That's what it's saying on there. I actually don't know anything about them, but my brother was going to give them away to a charity shop, and I was like, no, I'll read them. But I haven't read them yet. So they are to be read. I haven't read all of the Lovecraftian novels, but obviously that would take a long time. I've read, I think, all of the Brothers Grimm, not all of the Hans Christian Andersen ones, but I have read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, etc. So yeah, let's get on to the ones that were in front, apart from the notebook. Okay, so these 2 I have actually read, Solaris and This Is How You Lose a Time War. I have got a review for This Is How You Lose a Time War, so check that out if you're interested. And then we've got Our Souls at Night, which was one of those reduced bargains from Waterstones. It's like a romance with these 2 old people, and I think it'd be really cute, but I haven't read it yet. The Handmaid's Tale, which is on loan from someone at work, which I also haven't read yet. Hamnet, which I also haven't read yet. I've just not been in the mood for either of these 2 at the moment. I feel like they're going to be quite intense. And I've been really on like a fancy kick, so I just haven't touched those yet. This is actually kind of like a, I need to read this shelf. A Closed and Common Orbit, I haven't read that yet. I got that at a book swap. Hidden Nature, which was also from a book swap. This looks really interesting. So because me and Callum want to live on the boat, this is about the kind of canal network within the UK, and also following this woman as she tries to come to terms with her sexuality. So I thought that would be really interesting. But again, I haven't read it yet. I've got a book from my brother, which is one of those ones that he was going to give away. So that is Ender's Game. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to this. I don't know if I'm in the mood for it, but it's cool to have on my shelf. Hopefully I will read it one day, but I don't think it'll be this year. I've got Fight Club, which was gifted to me, which is awesome. I'm excited to get to that soon. The Vanishing Half, which I said I would read last year, and I just absolutely did not read it. I need to read it soon because I've heard amazing things. Everything I Never Told You. I've got Celeste's other book, but it's not on the shelves. It's somewhere else, which you guys are going to hate me when you see where else I keep my books. But yeah, I have got this other author's book. I've read neither of them. Miracle in the Andes, which is one of those ones that my brother was going to throw out and, well, give to the charity shop. And I was like, no, you're not doing it. This is a true story, I believe, about people that got caught in the Andes. Yeah, so that will be interesting, but I just haven't picked it up yet. And then All That Remains, A Life in Death. This deals with someone that works with anatomy, forensic anthropology, and it deals a lot with death and what comes after life, which is something I deal with every day because I think about it all the time, constantly, and it worries me a lot. So I thought that would be good to read, but I just haven't picked it up yet. So yeah, there's quite a few here that I haven't read, but now we move on to the next bookshelf, which is even more a mess. I haven't organised this in a really, really long time, so there's stuff everywhere, but let's just go through it. So this is kind of like my Le Guin section, but there are more at the bottom as well. So these are all the SF Masterworks ones. I have read Left Hand of Darkness, The Word for World is Forest. I've read The Lathe of Heaven and The Dispossessed, so I still need to read The Wind's 12 Quarters and The Compass Rose, Always Coming Home, and Worlds of Exile and Illusion. This is 3 books, I believe, and I think this is like short stories. I'm not sure. But I know I want to read them, and I'll probably be reading them this year, and then I'll show you what's behind. I'm also going to have a sip of my drink because it's early. Okay, so we've got the Earthsea books. So I've got the big one, the Books of Earthsea, which is the illustrated collection of all the short stories and the main stories, and then I've got the Earthsea Quartet next to that. I have another Earthsea Quartet as well, which is at my boyfriend's house because he's currently reading it, or he was currently reading it. And then when I originally read them, obviously that was the quartet that I had. It's like the green edition. And these were the last 2 books that weren't included in it. So I do have those as single editions as well. And they match the Gifts trilogy. So we've got Gifts, Voices and Powers. Beautiful trilogy. I will reread it. I don't know if it'll be this year or not. I have 2 candles that are Twilight themed. So we've got Eclipse and New Moon. These are by the Reading Room Candle Company. Definitely check them out if you want some super cool candles. They are all vegan, so they use soy wax, and they also have a woodwick, which smells amazing. And then we have the A Life on Our Planet, which is the only other David Attenborough book that I have. We have another notebook, and then a collection of bookmarks. because clearly I use those all the time. No, I am trying really hard to use them because I got some really lovely ones for Christmas and I have been using them, so that is always good. So yeah, that's the first one. We can move down to the next. Oh, there's pens. There's pens. Oh my goodness, there's even more that I haven't read than what I expected. Okay, so we've got Olive again. I have no idea what this is about, but I have seen this author around more than I have this. My mum picked it up for me because she thought it looked nice. So we have a hardback edition of that. We've got Silmarillion at the top there. I have hidden that because it absolutely terrifies me and I don't know if I'll be able to read it, but I have it and I'm excited to have it, but I'm also nervous to read it. We have a collection of Charles Dickens's Christmas Tales. I got this at a book swap. It is a very old edition. And then we have Oliver Twist, which I haven't read yet. Great Expectations, which I haven't read yet. The Old Curiosity Shop, which I also haven't read yet. The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is a short book. I want to get to this year because I think I can read it quite quickly and I'm very interested in it, but have never read it. I got this edition of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep because it's the only one they had and it's Blade Runner inspired, which Blade Runner is one of my all-time favourite films. I think it's phenomenal. I could rewatch it every week, honestly. I love it to pieces and I have read this and I did enjoy it quite a lot. Flowers for Algernon, which I said I would read last year and I also said I'd read it the year before and I still haven't, so I need to read that. To Kill a Mockingbird, which I've never read, but it's a classic. Animal Farm, which I read when I was younger. The Great Gatsby, which I also haven't read, and Phantom of the Opera, which I haven't read. Both of these are very small, so hopefully I'll be able to get to these very soon. Annihilation, which I have read and thought it was amazing. This is my boyfriend's edition that he lent to me and I have kept it because I do want to reread it. The War of the Worlds, which I also said I'd read and I haven't because it will give me an existential crisis because I hate death and I hate thinking about the fact that we're so insignificant in the grand scheme of things. So I haven't read that yet either. And then I also have H.G. Wells's The Time Machine and The Invisible Man, which I also haven't read because I don't know if that's going to be a similar vibe to The War of the Worlds. I started reading The War of the Worlds when I was on holiday about 5 years ago and I had to stop reading it after the second page because of the whole existential crisis thing. So I don't know if those two books are going to be the same. So that's why I haven't picked them up. But yeah, that is the back of that shelf and then I'll show you the books that were in front. Okay, I've got 2 editions of The Lord of the Rings. I've read this one. This was from a book swap and I had to glue it back together because it's super old. I found this really nice edition. This was in a charity shop, I believe. So I got that. I have The Hobbit, which is a mini hardback edition with the illustrations that my boyfriend got for me. I think that was for my birthday. The His Dark Materials trilogy. This is a beautiful hardcover edition with them all in. I absolutely love it. That was one of the first books that I showed off when I started my Bookstagram. So yeah. And then we have the Book of Dusts. We've got La Belle Sauvage and The Secret Commonwealth, which I haven't read either of these, but got them because I couldn't help myself. And then we have The Memory Police, which I haven't read. I'm supposed to be reading that this month. Who knows if that's going to happen. And The Cat Who Saved Books, which I was supposed to read last month and I didn't because I had a bad time. So yeah, I just didn't get to that, but I do want to read it because both of these I think are going to be very interesting for very different reasons. Oh, and I do have this book, The Dinky Donkey, that got bought for me as like a jokey present for Christmas. It was very cute, but it's definitely for like babies, very young children. So yeah, I have actually read that. Okay, the next shelf is very like fancy based, very interesting. So we have The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This book's massive. I'm not starting it this year, maybe next year. Just going to be honest there. Throne of Glass, which I haven't read yet. I might read that this year. Brave New World, which is one of my favourite reads from 2021. It was brilliant. A Man Called Ove, which is also on loan from the same person at work that is loaning me The Handmaid's Tale, so I need to get that back to them soon because I still haven't read it, but I need to read it. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, one of my favourite books of all time. So I have read that, and I've also read Kiki's Delivery Service. What a beautiful and adorable little book. The Stormkeeper's Island, The Castle of Tangled Magic. I haven't read either of those, but after reading the A Pinch of Magic book, I thought that I'd enjoy those. Got Howl's Moving Castle, which I did enjoy. I want to reread this because I was in a funny mindset when I read it last time and didn't enjoy it as much as what I thought I would. But I think if I reread it, I would enjoy it. And then We the Survivors, which is more of a hard-hitting book that deals with racism. So that is something that I need to be in the right mindset for so I can really take it in and let it sit with me. So I haven't read that yet. Okay, and the ones that are in the front, unfortunately, Sapiens is there. And even though I have started it, I still haven't finished it. I've not really got much further through it. So yeah, it's very interesting, but I'm exhausted and I can't be dealing with something that heavy yet.
Catching the Sun, which I haven't read, that is from my brother. Again, one of those books he's going to throw out. I think it'd be very interesting. And then we have Endurance, which I actually started the day that I bought it and just haven't got past the prologue, which is a shame because that is a true story about the astronaut Scott Kelly, and I think it's going to be very interesting. Sleeping Giants, which I haven't read either. I don't know too much about that. Charity shop find. The Mystery of Things, which I also got from Charity Shop. This is going to be one of those things about like evolution, the meaning of life. I thought the front cover was really cool, very pretty. Haven't read that yet. There's the other Rooney. I've read Normal People, so I can take that one off. The Essex Serpent, which I haven't read. I picked it up for the front cover, I'm not going to lie to you, but hopefully it'll be enjoyable. Epitaph for the Ash, which I've been meaning to read for a while. It's basically talking about what is happening to our ash trees and trees within the UK. Treasure Island, which I haven't read, have never read, so that'll be interesting to read. It's like a classic. Little Women, which I did read. I read that, I believe, before I started my Bookstagram, I'm not sure. But that was very cool. I liked that a lot. First Contact, which is a non-fiction, so who knows how long that will be on my shelf for. And then the 2 Twilight graphic novels, which I actually purchased off eBay the other day and have already read them. They were beautiful. It was a really nice way to revisit the Twilight saga without having to reread the whole kind of series. So yeah, definitely recommend those. And that is that shelf. There is no order to that at all, is there? I'm very sorry. Okay, there's a little bit of order to this shelf. So this is what was behind. These are the A Song of Ice and Fire books. My bookshelves are really annoying because I can't put these like all together. One of them always has to be at the top, so I put the last one at the top. So that is what's behind all of those. I've read all of these. Very cool series, enjoyed it a lot. And then these were the books that were in front. Obviously I've got my 2 other George R.R. Martin books here. So I've got A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, which I recently just got from the charity shop, and then Fire and Blood, which was on sale I think on Waterstones, can't remember. So I have those, and then also just up here, that is my beautiful illustrated edition of The Game of Thrones. So that's up there. It's got its own like little place. Holly bought that for me, which is just the most beautiful present ever. And then we have my hardback edition of The Chronicles of Narnia. I've yet to read those. I'm hoping to start them this year because I think that will be a really good thing for me to do. And then we've got this tiny little book that is 10 poems about walking. I got this for Christmas from my boyfriend's dad. So I haven't read that yet, but I mean, that'll be a very interesting and very easy read. I have read Lavinia by Ursula Le Guin, so these are the rest of my Le Guins that weren't part of the SF Masterworks collection because I don't have space up there. So yeah, I have read that. I haven't read No Time to Spare or Cinia. I have read The Unreal and the Real, Volume 1, but I haven't read Volume 2, which is this one. This is more set in a science fiction setting, I believe. And then we have Late in the Day, which is her collection of poems, which is beautiful. I really enjoyed this. Yeah, such a lovely edition, and I have actually read that. So those are all of the books on this shelf, but now I have to show you where the other books are. You're going to scream at me. So we just go under the bed here, and they're in here. So let's pull these out. I promise that none of them are getting too squished. There's not as many in here as what it looks like. Okay, so this is kind of like the bottom layer. These are not in any order because they are just kept kind of in storage, but I haven't actually read all of them. So these are just books that I will move onto my shelf once I have read some of the books there, and I can kind of replace them because I usually donate my books. I don't usually keep them afterwards unless I absolutely love them. So we have got Pine, which is not my usual kind of thing, but it was very cheap in the charity shop, so I thought I'd pick it up. People have said it's really good. Jude the Obscure, which I want to read before I read A Little Life because I've heard they're quite similar and this one's a bit smaller. So see how I got on with that. The Borrowers, which I really want to read this year, so I can use that as part of my Studio Ghibli movie versus the book series, so I do want to read that. The Silence of the Lambs, which I've never read. This was one of those ones my brother was going to give away, and I thought I want to read it because it's a classic, which takes me to Jurassic Park. Also a classic. This is from the charity shop, and I do definitely want to read that at some point, maybe next year. Far from the Madding Crowd, because of the other Hardy book. I thought this would be interesting, and I picked it up years ago because of the front cover from Waterstones, so I need to get to that really soon. Of Mice and Men, which I have read. These 2 books, I don't know anything about them, but they were my brother's and I thought they looked really interesting, so I do want to try those. So you've got Slow Boat and The End of the Moment We Had. We've got Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which I haven't read. The Tenant of Windfell Hall. Middlemarch. The Children of Men. I've not read any of those. This is the other Celeste book, Little Fires Everywhere, which I've heard loads of things about. I haven't read it yet. Bridget Jones' Diary, which I haven't read. Eragon, I haven't read. Humankind, this is a non-fiction that I picked up because I was enjoying Sapiens, and this gave me similar vibes. But I stopped reading Sapiens, so I haven't picked that up yet. But it's got sprayed orange edges, which is very cool. And then these two Robin Hobb. Now, I do actually have the Farseer trilogy, but my brother's reading them. So the Assassin's Apprentice. And I can't remember the name of the other two, but these two hardbacks I got at a charity shop and they didn't have the third one. So I'm going to try and find that and hopefully I can get to those soon. And then this is a new book that I purchased. It's been on my wish list for a while, The Crimson Petal and the White. I haven't read that yet. Three Women, which I got at a book swap at work, which I also haven't read. Starter for 10. And then the other book by that author that more people know, which is One Day. I haven't read that yet. The Jungle Book, which is a classic that I haven't read. Sightlines, which is a non-fiction about nature. I'm excited to get to this. I will get to it soon. Two books by Matt Haig. So we've got How to Stop Time and The Midnight Library. I'm going to get to these this year. Fahrenheit 451, which I adored. I read it the day that I got it and I just loved it so much. I'm keeping it because I want to reread it, but I have read it. A Brief History of Time. Am I going to get to this? Who knows? But it's one of those books that I've wanted to read for a while. It's just going to be quite heavy, so that's why I haven't picked that up yet. And then the last book that I own is Shuggy Bane. This is the new one that I got from a book swap, so I haven't read it yet. Those are all the books. Wow.
So yeah, those are all the physical books that I own. I will put the number of how many physical books I still need to read on the screen now. I'll leave it down below as well. It's probably quite embarrassing, but there we go. But hopefully when I move out onto the boat, we will have our own kind of book space and I will curate my collection a bit more, I think, and focus more on ebooks, which is something I want to do this year from this point onwards, is just buy ebooks unless it's something that I know that I'm going to absolutely love. And if it's Le Guin, I'll always buy the physical copies. But yeah, I'm sorry if this video was a mess. I have no idea how it's going to turn out. I hope it's okay. But I did definitely want to have like a more personal kind of look through my books with you and talk about the ones that are on my TBR so that you know what I'm going to focus on in the next couple of years. But that is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!